Christmas is probably the most popular celebration in the world. I believe it's mainly due to the effective commercialization and marketing by mainly the retail businesses taking advantage of the year-end buzz and bonuses. Well, who doesn't know Santa Claus, Rudolf the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and the many popular Christmas carols and songs? But what is Christmas actually all about, and beyond the Christmas tree, presents, and the turkey? Also, like many religious celebrations, those outside the religious community may have a lot of misconceptions and very little understanding of its history and significance. Are there practices during Christmas that are purely religious and others are merely due to culture? Beyond religious or worship as beliefs and practices, what are the good human or even family values and as well as community spirit that Christmas bring? Are there controversies within the Christian community surrounding Christmas that non-Christians are not aware of? Well, today I'm fortunate to have someone who is very qualified, I suppose, to talk about this topic and share some light to the many questions that we may have about Christmas. Who else but my esteemed co-host, Pakson, him being a former pastor, right? So I'm sure he's one of the authority that can answer those questions that I have. So Pakson, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Wow, you're putting a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah, my time will come when it comes to
Yes.
Ramadan or Idul
Uh-huh.
Fitri. So anyway,
Okay.
we have
I'll do
this
my best.
yeah, we have this tradition of talking about festive seasons and celebration. We spoken about we discussed about Deepavali. We had a guest, to talk about Deepavali, and I learned a lot.
Yes,
A lot
so did I.
deeper. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I assume that I have a lot of Hindu friends, Hindu neighbors, but I seldom ask them those questions. Though simple it may be. So don't
Mm.
worry, Paksan. My questions are very simple.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Okay, anyway, the first question is why is Christmas celebrated and what is the real meaning or origin of Christmas?
Okay. Why is Christmas celebrated? Well, Christmas is a day that marks the birth of Jesus Christ, who is known as the Savior of the world in the eyes of Christians. Uh, and therefore, because he's such a significant figure in history of all mankind, not just the beginning of some major religions like Christianity mainly, but Jesus was actually a Jew, so he is also a very significant person in the Jewish history and religion, Judaism. Okay, so it's a day that marks his birth or to celebrate his birth. Although December 25th, there are question marks about whether he was actually born on that day.
I see, I see. So, like what you said, yeah, he's a global figure, not only in Christianity and Judaism, even in my religion, Islam. He is a prophet. Is
Mm-hmm.
recognized as a prophet and one
That's
of
right.
the main Abrahamic prophets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, just to follow through from what you mentioned about the date, does it really matter the controversies and the
Well,
differences in the
for some,
dates?
yeah, for some people who wants to be a little bit more accurate, they are trying to still pinpoint the actual date, but whatever suggestions that have been put out, I would guess are still speculations. Now, one of the quite clear evidence why December 25th cannot be the day that Jesus was born is simply because of the season. Now, December 25th in Jerusalem or in Israel itself is winter time. Now, I've been to Israel during winter and it's quite cold. All right.
Mm.
And so the story in the Bible, as recorded in the Bible, is that there were shepherds who were looking after their sheep in the fields at night. And then all of a sudden, angels appeared to them and began to announce that, a son is born and a savior will be given to you, and his name will be called Emmanuel. Now, would shepherds and sheep be in the fields during winter, when it's especially at night when it's so cold? Very unlikely. All right. They would probably be indoors, okay, in a house somewhere, and shepherds are known to be sleeping at the entrance of the building, the structure where sheep is being kept during the night to be safe. All right. So just common sense alone tells you that it's very unlikely that Jesus was born in December, in the middle of winter. So others would have kind of counter proposed and said that it's more likely either during spring or autumn. Autumn meaning, let's say, around October, okay, where it's still warm enough for shepherds to be bringing their sheep out into the fields even at night. So that's one very simple evidence to say that December 25th is most likely not the actual day that Jesus was born.
Hey listeners, Pax and I are very excited to tell you about something new that's happening. We have just started a book club and would like you to join us. There are vast amounts of knowledge and wisdom in books that are readily accessible to everyone. Reading is also a way to learn from experts in various fields. Not a reader? No problem. Follow our podcast and listen to the episode where Pax and I discuss and summarize a book or a portion of a book. We will use that as the starting point for our book club discussion. We will meet on the first Wednesday of every month. Go to our Instagram and Facebook pages to find out how to join. We'll see you there. And now, back to the podcast. Yeah, I think that sometimes you just need to see the forest from the trees, right? At the end of the day, what's the significance of his birth? I'm sure I also know that it's a miraculous birth, right? Even in my religion, we believe that he was born from a virgin mother. So that itself is a significant event. So again, relating back to the things I have mentioned earlier, what are the traditions that you have during the Christmas season, or in commemoration of that birth?
Yeah, I think marking the birth of Jesus is very important. I mean, the fact that he is an important person in history, and his influence and impact on mankind and the world and different societies has been immeasurable, and therefore we want to celebrate the birth of such a person, just like we would celebrate people who have done great things, all right, remembered for good things that they have done during their lifetimes. We remember and celebrate their date of birth, and when they die on that day, the date that they died, we grieve and we mourn, because it's sad that we have lost such a very good person or important person, right? But you see, for Jesus, yes, I'm sure there's good reasons to celebrate the day that he was born. But actually, the thing that he did, which was to pay for the sins of the world, happened in around March or April, and we call it, Good Friday and Easter. So it was on Good Friday that he was crucified on the cross by the Romans, and then 3 days later he rose again from the dead. Okay, and having paid the sins of the world. Now, so if you think about it, which day would be more important to celebrate, his birth or his death? Because it is his death that actually was the main event that he came and was born to accomplish in the first place. Okay, so if you ask me, I would say that it would be more important to celebrate Good Friday and Easter more than Christmas. And I think for that reason, Christmas has, in that sense, lost its meaning and has become very commercialized. All right. So if you go back to history, I think different sources would tell you different things, but what seems to be common among the records is that history says that Christmas used to be actually celebrated. 25th December used to be the day that was celebrating something else. In the Roman Empire, in the ancient Rome, it was the day to celebrate the unconquered sun. Now, that is to mark the winter solstice. So winter solstice is kind of, the not the end of winter per se, but the end of the season where the nights were very, very long. All right. And so they were welcoming back the sun. Okay. So that's the winter solstice. Now, that was in ancient Rome. Then, in the 4th century, when Emperor Constantine became the Emperor of Rome, and then he converted to Christianity, it was reported that he replaced that celebration of the unconquered sun with the celebration of Christmas. Now, whether it was called Christmas, we do not know. Okay. But because he's now a Christian, so he said, no, we shall not worship pagan gods or any kind of pagan worship or celebrations anymore. So he tried to minimize the significance of all these pagan festivals by replacing them with more Christian festivals. And therefore, it is said that he introduced Christmas to be celebrated on December 25th. That's where it began. Well, at least that's what the records says.
Okay, so yeah, back to talking about the big thing, but small things like yourself, your family. What special Christmas tradition that you have? Maybe you can share with us in your family.
Well, yeah, we used to. I mean, when I was young, my father would celebrate Christmas in terms of giving gifts. We did not have a Christmas tree, but we do exchange gifts. And then one of the things that he would do, as far as I can remember, nearly every Christmas was to buy a log cake. Now, the cake is the shape of a log. A log means a chopped up tree, just a tree trunk. All right. And it was bought from cold storage, the supermarket. Now, cold storage, the supermarket, usually most of the time imports products from England. So I guess the log cake is something that is popular in England, but I don't think it's popular in America. Okay, maybe Americans would celebrate it using different other things. So anyway, the log cake was the thing, right? That we celebrate the way we celebrate Christmas. And then after I got married and had children, I continued that for a while. Log cake was a very one of my favorite cakes because it has lots of cream, And but then gradually I kind of became more health conscious, and so I began to cut off the log cake.
I see. So you mentioned about Christmas tree and log cake. Is that a symbolism as well? And what is the symbolism behind that itself? And what is the history or the story behind that Christmas tree?
I really don't know what's the story behind it. A log is basically a firewood. Okay, in countries where you have winter, you would chop wood, all right, and chop it up into small pieces, where you put into the fireplace and let it burn, and it would burn for hours. Now, I've lived in a country where there's winter, and I've had opportunity to do that, so I kind of understand it. But in Singapore, you don't. Whose home has a fireplace? I mean, my home has a fireplace, but of course we don't like a real fire. All right. And so in Singapore, I guess a lot of people would not experience it and might not even have an idea what it feels like. All right. So that's why the concept of the log cake is more of an imported one. Okay. And it was kind of popularized, and it was sold everywhere, especially in cold storage back then. And today, I think nearly every cake shop you would find log cakes, especially during the Christmas season. So I guess everybody would start buying it, and it's now even more expensive than before. So people are really making lots of money out of this.
Another day, what sells, right? Yeah, talking about what sells, I cannot but always relate Christmas to Santa Claus, right? As I mentioned just now. So who is he actually? And do you believe in Santa Claus when you were a child?
No, I've never believed in Santa Claus. My parents never taught us about Santa Claus. I mean, we have seen, on TV and things like that, right? We have seen Santa Claus, but somehow I've never believed that this is real. All right, it's just somebody dressed up, and so who is Santa Claus? He's just a fat guy. All right, very happy and fat guy. Okay, but historically speaking, I'm not so sure. I mean, I've been reading up and trying to see if there's a connection. But there's this guy called Saint Nicholas who was uh, a pope, not a pope, sorry, a bishop. Okay, back in the 4th century. All right, during the Roman Empire days. Now, he was known to be someone who is very generous, who always took care of the poor, and always giving a lot of money and help to the people who are less fortunate. All right. And so when he died, I guess there was this day, and the day chosen was 6th of December, that was used to, remember him. And therefore, one of the practices on that day is to exchange gifts, to give people gifts. So that practice continued. All right. And in some countries, it is called the St. Nicholas Day. Okay. Now, so that is the closest thing to Santa Claus. But then when the Reformation took place, and Reformation is the time where Martin Luther, who used to be a Roman Catholic monk, he began to study the scriptures, the Bible, and he realized that the Catholic Church was doing a lot of things that was not really according to the Bible, and so he kind of revolted, and that's why it's called the Reformation. And out of that came the Protestant movement, all right, and moving away from the Roman Catholic Church. And so today's Christian, the evangelicals, the Methodists, the what do you call that, the Lutherans and all that, all comes under this big umbrella called the Protestant movement. Okay. And so I think it was in England where they began to replace the St. Nicholas Day, okay, with Christmas. All right. And so the giving of gifts, the exchanging of gifts continued, as a main practice. Instead of St. Nicholas Day, they just chose another day, and that was December 25th, and so December 25th became more prominent than the St. Nicholas Day. So, but this, in some countries, like probably in the Netherlands or things like that, all right, they would still continue to have remember this St. Nicholas, and so they begin, I guess, over time, people began to create this legendary or this mythical character called Santa Claus. Okay, actually, which came from a Dutch word, all right, and now translated into English as Santa Claus. All right, who is this very happy person, and who's always going around trying to make people happy and giving out gifts, especially to little children. Now, so of course, people want to be happy during a festive season, isn't it? So I guess they maintain that character, all right, just to be able to keep up that spirit. Yeah. So I guess that's why it's still alive until today.
Wow, that's a very good appreciation of the historical evolution of Christmas and how Santa Claus come into the story, the picture. This whole package of celebration. But I think the thing that I learned from there is about giving, right? And, it's about sharing, giving, to the needy, to your family members, and create happiness, which is very, very much, I suppose, important. And I think we also discussed during the Deepavali edition the importance of family coming together. I mean, with all this COVID coming, with us and so on, there should be no excuse, right, for us to still live the spirit of these very important traditions, that I think has gone a long way. I think as you mentioned about when you were a child, your experience with your father celebrating these occasions has created some kind of mark and a memory in your life. It is very important in our life. I believe. Yeah. So other than the tree, the Santa Claus, the log cake, another thing I want to ask, and I saw this probably Mr. Bean, he's the one who promote it. Turkey, yeah. How important is turkey? Having a turkey dinner, and how does that come into place? And Singapore, we don't eat turkey, right? But I start seeing turkey being sold and being very popular. Even now they have halal turkey, and I tried. It's a bit different, but it's interesting.
Well, I guess in the Western countries, maybe they would have turkey for dinner. In America, turkey is more associated with Thanksgiving more than with Christmas. Okay, so with Christmas, I guess you have other kind of food, maybe certain puddings or cakes or things like that. Anything that's sweet
That make you happy.
makes people very happy. Yeah. So, but I don't think in Singapore, number one, Turkey became more trendy. I think only quite recently as maybe in the last 20 years or so. But before that, when I was young, who had turkey? I mean, maybe the most we had was chicken, right? And roast chicken, you see. And but I think more popular than turkey for Christmas are ham. Again, I believe this came more from England. All right, so we have honey baked ham and all kinds of ham, and you would either buy the whole lump of it, or you can ask the get it cut in the shop. All right, so honey baked ham is one of the more common ones. So yes, not so much turkey, but ham.
Yeah. I suppose I say it's always the meeting between the religion and culture, right? Where the origin of the religion is, from, and now you are in a different culture, and how it merges into something that we identify it so closely, to that
Mm.
religious, celebration or occasion. But what is the real actual and the must do during Christmas? Well, the rest are cultural and maybe on the side, right? What is the must do? That there's no difference of opinion in among all Christians for Christmas.
Well, the must do is don't sin.
And that's every day, not just during
It's
Christmas.
every day. Yeah, exactly. You got it. No, I mean, to be honest, everything that is done on Christmas Day, before, during, and after, are all cultural. Okay. Why do I say that? Because nothing is mentioned in the Bible. All right. As far as Christians are concerned, uh, there are no instructions about how you should celebrate Christmas. Okay. It's unlike, in the Bible, you would find God giving to his people, primarily the Jewish people, okay, how to celebrate 7 festivals during a year. And so every year they would celebrate these 7 festivals, and very, very specific instructions are given to celebrate these 7 festivals. Nothing is mentioned about Christmas. In fact, Christmas itself, be apart from the announcement given by the angels to this group of shepherds in the field who are watching their sheep by night, nothing else is mentioned about Christmas. Oh yeah, of course, Joseph and Mary having to run away and then ended up in Bethlehem, where they couldn't find a room in the inn to give birth, and so they had to finally deliver baby Jesus in, well, we call it a stable, but it's actually not a stable. Stable are for horses. Okay, so it's more like just a little place where the sheep. It's a structure. Okay,
A barn.
it's covered. Okay, and especially during winter and during the night, that's where the shepherds will put the sheep. Okay, and protect them. All right, so that's the only place that Joseph and Mary could find to give birth to baby Jesus. So nothing the way that is celebrated, and that's why over the years, over the centuries, maybe the way Christmas is being celebrated keeps changing, keeps evolving, and certain countries would add this, and other countries would add this and take away this. That's because there is no standard. You know what I mean? So everybody just watches what other people are doing, and they say, "Oh, this looks interesting. I'll do it, and then it gets stuck. It sticks, and then they continue from one generation to the next. So if you tell me what is a must, all I can say is don't sin.
I see. I see. Go back to basics.
That's right.
Interesting, interesting. Sometimes we have this, our own understanding of what a religious celebration is from our own perspective. Okay, and then we, put it upon others what it is. And what more for Christmas is it's been so widespread. Everyone is celebrating Christmas, regardless of religion nowadays. In Orchard Road, light up, everyone goes there as part of a Christmas celebration. So
That's right.
again, so having all this information, knowledge, very important for us to have some perspective, okay, of what it's all about, right? So again, maybe last few questions. Talking about the commercialization of Christmas, right? I think we have discussed, and I think in along the way we understand, right, that at the end of the day, it's about giving. So somebody got to sell, right? You got to buy, and somebody got to sell. But sometimes it is too much, and it spoils the whole spirit, the original spirit, the back to basic spirit. Don't sin. Sometimes we spend too much that we waste. And wasting something is, I suppose, a sin in many religion, if not big, small sin, right? Yeah. So what do you say about that?
Yeah. No, I think the intention is great. The intention is excellent, right? To give and to share, isn't it? Okay, because we cannot be self-centered all the time. So at least one time in a year, we should think of others. And so this thing about buying gifts, became the practice, and I think it's a good practice. But I think for some, it became a competition. They want to buy the most expensive, the biggest, and just to impress and to please others. Okay, of course, and that's not the best thing to do anymore. All right, so because of this competitiveness, people would want to spend more and more, and then marketing, manufacturers, retailers would want to sell you more things and tell you, you need this, you should get this for your child. Everyone is having this. If your child doesn't have this, he will feel very left out and rejected and things like that. So marketing, really comes in very aggressively to promote all kinds of products, both to children and to adults, right? Now, and so therefore you will probably find excesses, right? People will buy things that they don't really need, and you give to people and they say, they will smile, they will smile at you and thank you very much. Oh, this is excellent. But then, the next moment they turn around and says, oh, I don't really need this. I don't want this. I don't like this. This is not my favorite color. And therefore you have Boxing Day, which is on the 26th of December.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know what Boxing Day is for?
Oh, I don't know. During Boxing Day, there are a lot of EPL soccer matches.
Yes.
They have special Boxing Day, usually very important matches during that day.
Correct.
Because
correct.
it's
I
a
look forward
long,
to that
long
day
holiday,
too.
right?
Yeah.
And
But
it's not about boxing, punching each other, right?
No, it has nothing to do with the sport of boxing at all. So Boxing Day is basically a following to the Christmas, all right? And because many years ago, people were already having these excesses, they have parties and therefore have a lot of leftover food, all right? And then they will have gifts and maybe too many gifts, okay? And so what the richer people would do is they will put all these so-called leftovers and the extras into a box and give it to their servants to bring home and share it with their families.
I see. Now I know. I mean, I know that it's not about punching each other, but I was
No, it's
thinking
not.
it should be called Unboxing Day because you get presents in a box on 25th, 26th, you unbox it. You don't unbox it in front of the people who give you the presents because it's not courteous, right? So I was thinking about that, but so lo and behold, that's when you think without having knowledge.
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah. No, yeah, that's a very important. Yeah, it's about boxing and giving the things that you don't need and giving to others. Okay, that's fine. That's a good culture, and that's why
That's right.
it stays right in
Yeah,
for
so
a long
you in
time.
a sense you transfer your gift. You
I
don't
see.
return
I
it to the
see.
shop. I mean, in America now you have this 7 days you can 7 or 14 days you can return something that you have bought, and you realize, oh, I don't need this, or I don't want this anymore, this is the wrong item, I changed my mind, you can return it, and get a full refund. So instead of doing that, you just repackage it and give it to someone else, which I thought, okay, you're not wasting, right? Give it to
And
someone
that spirit is
who,
important. Some people think that giving this is like giving leftovers, something that you don't want, you don't value, and give to others. No, it's about recycling, right? I think it's a good culture that we are trying to promote here. Recycling, don't waste. I think we do that.
well,
I think in Singaporean,
because it's usually for the poor, right? And
Yeah.
there's a saying that goes, beggars cannot be choosers. So I
Yeah.
guess those who are receiving these recycled gifts would be very appreciative. I mean, they shouldn't be complaining, right? And so they just receive it gladly. At least their children will have something, although it's the day after Christmas, but it's better than a week or a month after Christmas.
Right. So do you do that, Paksan?
No. We in fact, to be honest, my family and I, we kind of stopped celebrating Christmas for quite some time already, because like I said, it's beginning to lose its meaning, and if you ask me, which one would be more important to celebrate, Christmas or Easter and Good Friday? I would say Easter and Good Friday, because that's the actual thing, the main event, that Jesus was born to into this world to accomplish.
Okay. The last question, which is related to what you have just mentioned. If you could change something about Christmas time or season, what would that be, Paksan?
Let it snow.
Well, if it
I'm
snows in
dreaming of
Singapore,
a white Christmas.
I'll be worried. It's okay if you are somewhere, in Europe or somewhere temperate countries, but it starts snowing in Singapore, I'm worried. There's must be something wrong with the climate.
Oh, I'm
already.
ready. I have the winter coats ready, because I
Yeah,
lived in
just
a country where there's winter. I've lived there for 10 years, so I still have the winter coat. I'm all set for it.
just go to Snow City in Jurong.
Not the same, not the same. Yeah,
Of course.
not the same. No, the feeling is very different. I mean, sometimes I do look at photographs, of Christmas time in other countries, and my heart really, wow, my heart really beats and says, I wish I'm there, because the ambience is just different. Now, Singapore, we have the Orchard Road light up, so they try to do the closest thing they can imagine, but it's just different. It's so hot. There's such a big crowd there. You're just squeezing and bustling and shoving each other. So again, Christmas Orchard Road light up used to be one of our one of the things we do every Christmas, but then eventually we found no lah. We don't want to catch any COVID-19 now.
So, at the end of the day, it's about, we usually it's a public holiday. It's a time for families to come together. A time to start, again, find the opportunity to bond, to communicate, to spend quality time with your family, your children. So at the end of the day, that is all, at least what we can do for such a time, right? Okay, anyway, thank you very much, Paksan, all right, for
Most welcome.
sharing very, very interesting information and stories about Christmas. And, well, I wish you Merry Christmas.
And to you and your family also.
And usually come and Happy New Year.
Yeah, just 1 week later, New Year.
Yeah, all right. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, you've been listening to the WADT podcast. Thank you for joining us. If you have enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us so that you will not miss any future episodes. Also, do let fellow dads know about this podcast. If you would like to react to what you have heard today, just head to one of our social media platforms. We are on Instagram and Facebook. Or you can email us at wearedads2@gmail.com. Also, do let us know what you would like us to discuss in the future podcast episodes. Till the next time, this is Hafiz and Paksan signing off.